I see a lot of artists doing their top 5 greatest artists, or their top 5 rappers of all time, or top 5 rappers right now. I'm gonna do a top 5 rappers of all time for me, and I can only speak for me. Counting backwards, starting at number 5, I'm going with Kanye West. Kanye West got album after album after album of classics. That's my opinion. He brings so much subject matter and substance to the table, and it's debatable. Depends on the listener. And I'm going to say first and foremost, I'm biased because a lot of these artists, my top 5, we're around the same age group, so I can relate to the subject matter, and then just some of the things they talk about. So Kanye is my number 5. Number 4, got a slight interruption in the background. I got trains outside my home, so if you hear some loud noises, it's just a train. So disregard the trains. But anyway, let's continue. My number 4 is Notorious B.I.G. And when I talk to some people, they think I got Big rated too low, but he got like an incomplete file. His discography is only like two albums deep. And he got a lot of stuff in between, but his longevity didn't do it for me. And I love Big. Big had the potential to be great. He had the potential to be one of the greatest. Bar for bar, word for word, style, what he brought to the table. He was that nigga. He was, but he didn't stay on his earth long enough to surpass 4 for me. At number 3, I go back and forth because at 3 I flip flop with 2 sometimes. So at 3, I'm going with Jay-Z. Jay-Z is, I almost went there and said, was like a role model to me, but to clean that up, he showed you black excellence through hip-hop. Regardless of how you feel about him outside of hip-hop or within hip-hop, but he was kind of like our hood black excellence for people who listen to hip-hop. Whether that's agreeable, that's up for you to debate. So I'm gonna ride with Jay-Z number 3 because he got albums that spoke to me. He got albums that actually pumped me up in a different way that made me feel a little more, let's get this, man. We can do this, man. Let's go get this money. And I love that about Jay. And he can back it up with his lyrics, regardless if he took a little bit from Big, you know what I'm saying? We know the truth, but Jay is Jay. He brought a lot of his own to the table. So Jay is at my strong number 3. And I'm gonna go with my solid number 2. My solid number 2, and to backtrack what I said, I do flip-flop with Jay in my number 2, but not too often. But today, we're speaking on 2020, because this can change daily, this can change, my opinion can change monthly. It can change yearly, but it don't waver that much. So at number 2, I'm going with Nas Escobar. He touches me more when it comes musically, when it comes to all these cats, because he brings a lot of substance to it. He brings an icon aspect to the rap game. He's a top tier rapper, but he's a low key rapper. So he's not in a lot of people's top 5s, but he's one of the most respected rappers. And I can name a list of guys that can be in people's top 5 based on respect alone. That's your Snoop Dogg's, that's your E40s, your Eminems, guys like that, Busta Rhymes, DMX's. They might be in your top 5s, but those guys aren't in my top 5, but they're honorable mentions between 6 and 10. That's just for me. But we speaking for 2020 right now. Okay, so number 2, Nas is my solid number 2. And let's go to number 1. Now, number 1 is easy for me. Number 1, I grew up throughout the whole Tupac era, from Tupacalypse Now all the way to All Eyes on Me, Machiavelli album. You know, the list go on and on. Even though even his discography is longer, is bigger than Big's, but it's still short enough to where you can say, okay, I can see Jay-Z topping Pac, but what Pac brought to the table is what all the other five brought to the table. Like, he was a combination of everybody. So let me explain it like this. He had the consciousness of Kanye, let's say more so old Kanye. And he had some of the new Kanye where he got caught up in with the wrong people and started became somewhat of a follower, so to speak. But he kind of stayed to his true self. You could see the true Tupac in whatever avenue he was in. Like when he was dealing with Death Row, and that was just, it wasn't a complete hot mess, but Tupac was going through some things. Same thing with Kanye, with the whole Kardashian fiasco and the whole Make America Great crap. But we kind of know where Kanye's heart is. The same with Tupac. So let's sticking with Tupac. So he got that Kanye in him, you know, that ego, a little bit of arrogance to him, and he's true to himself. He got the big in him, and when I say he got the big in him, where it's like he has a way with the ladies. He know how to speak to the women. You know what I'm saying? He got the gift of gab, and he's a good soul. He seems like he's funny. You know what I mean? And he's humble. Even in his arrogance, you can see the humility in Tupac. So he has big in him. The Jay part he has in him is that Jay was larger than life, but still low key. Like Jay was just smooth talking, low speaking, low rapping. I ain't got to get too loud. He was just, you know, and he still was respected on an iconic level. Tupac was loud and brash, but he has quiet, softer moments because he was a very passionate artist. How I compare him to Nas is that Nas always is going to give you something to feed your mind. Always. Even in some of his street rhymes. Even though he probably wasn't the street dude like people wanted him to be, you gotta understand, these rappers are entertainers too. So a lot of that stuff is just, you know, just window dressing, just shit talking, just, you know, entertainment, just like the movies. So Tupac he got a little bit of Nas in him. So what makes Tupac number one for me is that over all those guys, not saying that those guys weren't passionate like Tupac, but Tupac wore his passion on his sleeves. If you watch the interviews, you can see it in that man's eyes, you can hear it in his voice, and you can see it in his body language, the passion that he had for black people, for black women, for the struggle, the success, just the aura of black culture. Tupac was that dude. And for young folks that don't know much about Tupac rather, start with Tupac's history, start with some of the interviews. His interviews still stand the test of time today. It's 2020. He got interviews almost pushing 30 years ago that's still relevant today. Besides that, he was that nigga. He was. I'm talking about the sound, the cadence. Back then he had the look, because that was the look back then, the no shirt, the tattoos, the bald head, and you know, he fit the image for the 90s. He was the poster child of the 90s, and then came along your DMXs and your Ja Rules who kind of piggybacked on that image, but Tupac was the guy. And even though he claimed, you know, West Coast and West Side till I died and all this stuff, and he still had that East Coast vibe, and you never looked at Tupac like, you never placed him in one coast. He was like the all around the world, like the song all around the world, the same song. But he was that guy. He, you know, So Tupac for me is my number one. So make a long story short, counting backwards, I'm going Kanye West, like it or dislike it, disagree. This is my top five. So number 4, Notorious Big, great artist, all the potential in the world, but longevity. He, may rest in peace, but hey, that wasn't his call. His God called his number, and that was that. Number 3 is a strong Jay-Z. At strong number 3, Jay-Z. I call it a strong number 3 because he usually never wavers from 3 to 2. So Jay-Z he's solid. And we're not even talking about the billionaire Jay-Z or borderline billionaire Jay-Z. That's fine and dandy. But we talking about, let's stick it to the music. The icon, like it or love it. He's an icon. Number 2, my solid number 2 was Nas, and I'm sticking with that because Nas, he touches me the most when it comes to total package, far as the substance I want, the tone I want to hear on a consistent basis, the melodies, the offbeat beats, the non-prototypical trap beats that you hear today. Nas gonna do it his way no matter what. And then Tupac Shakur, he's my number 1, and for all reasons that I stated previously, he's my undisputed number 1, and it's almost no argument. But we can do other videos on top 5s of best lyricists, hardest rapper, most conscious rappers, the ones that make you feel good, the ones that make the best dance music or club bangers. That's another video. So that's just my top 5. So like it or love it, tell me what you think.